Kaoru's here, and we could put him on early, or we can give him another minute to get ready. Maybe he and Alfonso need to get tech stuff ready too. Um, a little bit about. I'm going to talk now a little bit about Kaoru's book. It's Public Money: The System Solution to End National Debt, Banking Crises, Built-in Inequality, Inflation, and Control by CBDC. We've felt that in lots of ways, and we've been poo-pooed by the establishment. I often think of it as the wall of Mordor from The Lord of the Rings. And it's a book like this, it's around which we can build consensus and start marching forward. Different organizations joining hand in hand. One of the things, there's several things, staying with the larger picture first, and then we'll go more into the thinking in the book. It's we're coming into a time, and it might be called the Trump effect or whatever, but we feel like we have to have a consensus and we want to move forward. Oh, good. We want to move forward and we need to connect with others. We were talking about that before we began with Move to Amend and others. We got to connect with other like-minded organizations. And as we've been pushed and we've been pushing, we need to we have expertise in an area and everyone else has their expertise. We need to join together. We got to keep building consensus. And there can be flexibility in different ways, but we still always have to push. And we have to be what we want to see in the future. We have to be the change, so to speak. And that motivates me. And Yamaguchi's book now, a few comments about it. It's by Kaoru and his son Yogi. And in one, there's two dedications to it at the beginning. The first dedication is to Jay Forrester, who was the great systems dynamic modeler. He was like the guru early on, about 30 years ago or more. And one of his students was Kaoru. And Kaoru really picked it up. And both of them, and Kaoru describes that and describes that in the book, what we already know from Michael Hudson and Steve Keen, that economics is the dismal science, and it tends to prove itself being that quite regularly. Kaoru is saying it is dismal, basically here, and if you get it right away in these quotes and in the preface, he starts already describing what's going on. And it's a shout out, thank you to this Forrester for looking at a better way to look at systems, to look at people's lives, and to model it. And so it's open to all, that people can look at it. And if you know Kaoru, he's made his work available in systems dynamics publicly, where you could then take it over and work with it. It was above my head in time for me to be able to do that. But it's there, and we have some people looking at that challenge. And this book is a good way to get into that challenge, and you can go deeper with it. When you're turning the page over, the second dedication is to Zarlenga. I won't need to read it now, but it's to push forward on the monetary level. And Kaoru had strength in that. He has an economics background, but he also had the systems dynamics modeling background. He would go to the conferences and present there. And then he decided to really take up money and the monetary modeling as his focus. And that's at least a quarter of a century or more ago. So and so you're getting tonight a report on his life's work here. And it's very special and it's very complete. It's very well rounded. You've been able to listen to chapters a summary of chapters 9 and 11. 9 explains four models. A lot of economists think of two models, endogenous and exogenous money, and or intermediation versus uh, the endogenous or self-made. But there's a lot of ambiguity in that and how they explain it. Kaoru goes through that and he makes a nice chart. I think it's on 213 or something, where he looks at the four models, and that's in chapter 9, and he explains that. And that's a fundamental piece. And then in chapter 11, he explains the weaknesses based on the modeling of MMT. And it allows us to walk past and to keep walking and to march for a better world. And we need to come to some consensus. And I think Kaoru is going to be helping us do that with this book. We're going to hear other economics thinkers over the weekend from different points of view, too. And it's going to be their ideas on how we can help the system. And there's a huge amount of validity, and there's a lot of validity of how to integrate. No, Kaoru's not saying there's just one way to do it. There's a lot of good ways of going forward. So we've got to look at those and find those ways for our own nations, perhaps our own communities, depending on how wide. Maybe some people feel like states should have some developing of their own money. How does the future look? Do we need to have an amendment change or not? These are open questions, and we're not going to have them answered tonight, but we're going to have a sense of how we can come together. With that, I'm going to be quiet. Oh, one more interesting thing is the central bank digital currency and how that looks. And I see Kaoru here. I'm going to let Professor Yamaguchi talk about that better than I. And he may need to correct some things I've already said. But anyhow, Professor Yamaguchi, I don't know if you remember, but you and I had a lovely meal once in
Yes,
Chicago and at a Thai restaurant. And I always remembered you and your beautiful understanding of life. And I've been reading your book and I've been very much enjoying it. So thank you. And we got the publisher to reduce the price a little bit too. So I'm happy about that. So anyhow, it's all good. So um, Professor Yamaguchi, you have a beautiful background there.
yes. This is my local town where the cherry blossoms bloom in April. So I still keep these photos. Well,
Okay.
so sh- shall we start now? Shall we start now, or shall we
Yeah.
wait?
No, we're good. We could start now. And do you have slides or things you want to introduce or put up on the screen?
Okay, let me just show you. Can you see my slide or what?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we can see it.
It's it's clear to you or
Yes.
Yes.
And
okay,
Yeah,
so
they're good.
let's see. It's,
yeah, that's even better to fill your screen.
better?
Better, yeah.
Perfect.
A little bit more.
Okay. No, no,
Go a little
what's
more to the right.
all right.
It's
So let's get started. So first of all, the thank you for inviting me to this annual AMI conference 2025. And recently I'm getting old and I have no chance to talk in English, so maybe please be patient with my presentation in English. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about my recent publication, Public Money, with relation to the how we got this final book and how then we struggle to attain this concept. So under the title of The Birth of Public Money and Paradigm Shift in Economics as a Science. So under this title, I have prepared 50 slides. So probably it may take about 1 hour. So please be patient. I'm going to explain how I got this new idea of monetary reform in the form of more strict economic theories. Okay. All right. Now, today I'm going to talk about two part. In part one, I'm going to explain how we got to the idea of public money and debt money. How are they different? So that's the main talk of part one. Then after the part one, I'm going to discuss the difference between endogenous and exogenous debt money. How, even though we talk about debt money are totally separated into two different camps, mainstream theory and the monetary reform part. So I'm going to show how then those two different camps are now the same uh, head and tail coins. So that means finally we are only left two concepts of money, that is public money and debt money. So which one we should choose? So that is the main flow of my talks today. So let's start with part one, the birth of public money. So I started my macroeconomic modeling with the new simulation method called, I called it accounting system dynamics. So this is a totally new approach to economic modeling consisting of accounting system. Accounting system are very crucial double entry bookkeeping method of social sciences. And system dynamics. System dynamics is the foundation of the differential equation in natural sciences. So I thought we have to combine accounting system and system dynamics to analyze the social economic behaviors with simulation method. So that is why I got the idea of accounting system dynamics. And I presented this idea at the conference in New York in 2003. So that's the starting point of all my research. So with that new accounting system dynamics analysis method, I started analyzing macroeconomic modeling, starting with money supply, then Keynesian aggregate demand, and real monetary sectors and international trade, and finally open market. So this is a series of macroeconomic models I have followed. During that period, at the conference, someone told me, what you are doing is similar to what the founder of the Professor J. Forrest at MIT did already under the name of national model. So I was very nervous about the national model, because if what I'm doing is similar to what Jeffers have already created, so there is no reason to continue my research. So I went to see Professor Jeffers at MIT in 2005 and found that my approach is totally different from his approach. That is, my approach is totally new. So that convinced me how then I try to continue my macroeconomic simulation analysis. So that's the starting point of my simulation analysis. Then in the year of 2008, I completed my model. So it took 5 years to complete macroeconomic models. So at that time, we are confronted with financial crisis or Lehman shock. And I thought, what shall we do with my macroeconomic models? So I was wondering how I can analyze Lehman shocks with my new approach of macroeconomic modeling. So by that time, I happened to see the Stephen Zarlenga's book, The Lost Science of Money, and I became so interested in his approach of the lost science of money. So, and I started learning from the book two things. That means we had already lessons from the Great Depression in 1930s. The two lessons we learned are Banking Act of 1933, and second one is Chicago Plan. Chicago Plan was not implemented, but the Banking Act of 1933 was, in a sense, put into the action under the Glass-Steagall Act, but it was repealed. So this is the things which I learned from Stephen Zarlenga's book. That the Great Depression gave us very important lessons, but we didn't learn lessons. That was the bad or sad part of the economic analysis. So, and especially I was interested in the Chicago Plan by Irving Fisher. So this is a totally new approach to economic analysis. Let me just read briefly. As I have stated elsewhere, I have come to believe that the plan, that means Chicago Plan, properly worked out and applied is incomparably the best proposal ever offered for speedily and permanently solving the problem of depression, for it would remove the chief cause of both booms and depression, namely the instability of demand deposit, tied as they are now to bank loans. So this is a very, very strong statement of Chicago Plan, supported by Amy Fisher. So this became the kind of leading guide to my research later on. So then I learned from the Steve book about the American Monetary Act. And the American Monetary Act was very precisely summarized by the following three principles. The one is government issue money instead of the private owned banks issue money. So that's the first principle. The second one is we have to establish 100% fractional reserve. That means abolishment of credit creation. So that's the second principle, instead of the credit creation by central commercial banks. The third one is money as public utility for economic growth and public welfare, instead of money used for the elite bankers' benefit. So those three are the very appealing point to me under the American Monetary Act. So I thought whether I can create macroeconomic models which reflect those three features of American Monetary Act. Then I have finished modeling the American Monetary Act, modeling American Monetary Act. The first one was done in 2010 under the debt-free money system. So I haven't still used public money. In the paper 2010, I only used debt-free money. The next year, I came up with another revised paper under the title of Workings of the Public Money System of Macroeconomics, Modeling the American Monetary Act. So in this way, for the first time, I used the name public money. Then the next day, Steve Zarlenga invited me to the congressional briefing organized by Dennis Kucinich. So this is how I started modeling American Monetary Act with my new macroeconomic analytical framework. So let me just briefly summarize what I have done under this working of public money system. So as I said, so I have used the public money for the first time. So that is why the birth of public money was done in the year 2011, historically speaking. So this is the first time when I used public money system as a new concept. So before I select public money, there are a lot of suggestions made at the AMI conference by our colleagues. So let me just show several examples of how I received different concept of namings. That means instead of public money, I was told to use debt-free money, interest-free money, government money, issue money, treasury issued money, sovereign money, national money, state money. Those are the concept of monetary reform, which recommends the same American Monetary Act. But I was wondering which naming is best suited to describe the new monetary reform. So I have selected finally the public money because the counterpart of public is the private. So public could be the appealing. So that is how I selected the bus of the public money as a concept of new monetary reform. So since then, I started using this concept for the last 15 years. So at that time, in 2011, the United States is suffering from extreme amount of the debt accumulations. It was hitting to the ceiling of 14.3 trillion, and whether the Congress should approve the lifting of this ceiling. So that was a political issue around 2011. Now, 15 years has passed. Still, the government is suffering from the same accumulated debt of 36 trillion. So, and in 2011, in my paper, I predicted the 9% of accumulation rate. That means uh, the economic debt continue to grow by this 9%. So this is how I predicted. So my prediction exactly realized under the current American debt situations. So in this way, my simulation turned out to be very, very effective to predict the future. So what will happen if American government continue to borrow money? So this is debt debt amount, and this is the debt to GDP ratio. So it's reaching more than 120% of GDP. So in the paper, I show that the result would be the three only. We have three results. That is default of the government, or financial meltdown, or hyperinflations. So those are what we have shown in the paper. So the the idea of public money is very, 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 very easy to follow. So this is a balance sheet of the government. So government balance sheet consists of asset side and liabilities and equities. Whenever government borrow money, the amount is put into liability as government debt. Then the government receives the same amount of deposits. But if government issues public money, then the amount of money issued by the government are put in under the equities, and that creates the same amount of debit deposits. So difference is very clear. If we borrow money, the government have to put money under the liabilities. But if we issue money, then we can put that money under the equities. So those two dictionaries are very, very crucial to understand our monetary reform. So here is the simulation results I can show very quickly. So this is the amount of debt accumulations. And to reduce this debt, there are two policies I selected in the simulation. First one is to spend less or tax more. So recent Trump administration are trying to show that Doge solution. So Doge solution such as USA, that means Trump administration seems to try to spend less. So by doing this one, then obviously we can reduce the government debt. But the better solution is to issue the public money. By issuing public money, we can completely eliminate the debt. So now there are two different solutions: debt money solutions or Dodge by Trump administration, or the public money solutions. So simulation now compares the result of those two policies. So whenever we have those solutions, we trigger the recession according to simulation. Then we increase higher employment and unemployment. Then wage would be reduced. and we have inflations, then that will trigger the recessions and unemployment in the foreign countries. So those are the simple simulation results, but which is still appealing to us now. So these are the simulation results I have obtained in the paper. So I try to present the same idea at the congressional briefing, which is organized by Denis Kucinich. So, and I try to explain my complicated simulation result. I created one-page paper for the briefing. So this is one-page paper, and still that paper appeal, or it's still effective to us. So that is why I just like to share with you how then I presented my idea with one-page summaries. So let me read because this is so still effective to us all now. So I summarize my simulation result as follows. A, there are only two types of money, public money, debt money. B, under the debt money system, someone has to keep borrowing to provide a sufficient money supply for growing economies. That someone must be the government. Thus, a balanced budget does not work for the national government. Persistent borrowing eventually leads to a debt crisis. Raising the debt ceiling is like providing a painkiller without an operation. D, a debt crisis is an impasse leading to one of the three scenarios: default, financial meltdown, hyperinflation. To avoid to avoid an impasse, debt must be reduced either by spending less or taxing more. Spending less is what those solution performed by the current Trump administrations. F, the debt reduction policy, however, triggers recession and unemployment, social disorder, and turmoil like Greece. So that means those solutions by the Trump administration have to be abandoned because of this fear, this negative behaviors, recession and social disorder. So, as a conclusion, the current debt money system is a dead end. I still remember this dead end is the new word coined by Denis Kucinich at the briefing. I tried to explain this is a dead end. So Denis Kucinich said, no, not a dead end, dead end. So this is a very best summary of the current debt money system. So then I propose the public money systems with the following three simple summaries. G, public money as proposed by the American Monetary Act works as follows. A, the government issues money, not banknote from banks. B, 100% fractional reserve, not credit money. C, constant increase in public money as a public utility. So those are the American Monetary Act, which is put into the simulation model. Then under the public money systems, current government debt can be gradually reduced without recession, unemployment, and inflation. Those are the simulation results I have already explained. So with this simulation result, I was so convinced to propose this public money solutions. And public money policy becomes simpler than Keynesian policy. So whenever we have recession, we can increase public money, and we have inflation, we can reduce public money. So public money solution is simpler than Keynesian complicated fiscal and monetary policies. So as a conclusion, the public money system is worth being implemented. So this is a solution of simulation result, which I presented at the congressional briefing 15 years ago. Then, based upon this conclusion, Denis Kucinich introduced a National Emergency Employment Defense Needs Act, HR 2550, at the 111th Congress. But unfortunately, this Need Act didn't pay a lot of attention. But now we have to reactivate the ideas through together with Denis Kucinich to promote our new policy of public money. All right. So this is what happened under the congressional briefing. So then, to my surprise, about 6 months later, a report from the Club of Rome, that the European chapter of Club of Rome, published a report under the title Money and Sustainability. So this report was edited by Bernard Ritter. You may remember his name, which appears later in my talk. So one of the students in my class told me that, Professor, you know that the recently European chapter of Club of Rome issued the money and sustainability, and it mentioned about your congressional briefing in work in Washington, D.C. So I picked up the book and I encountered this chapter page. So let me read this one. Congressman Dennis Kucinich is proposing the American Monetary Act, an equivalent of the Chicago Plan. On 26 July 2011, Kucinich invited Professor Kaoru Yamaguchi from Dosha University in Japan to give a congressional monetary briefing on this idea. Yamaguchi's paper uses a system approach to show that the liquidation of debt under the current monetary regime will trigger multiple recession and massive unemployment in the USA, with contagion to other economies. In contrast, under the American Monetary Act, debt reduction and even debt liquidation can be put into effect without causing recession, unemployment, and inflation, either in the USA or abroad. This is exactly what I have explained with the macroeconomic simulation result. And this report precisely summarized my presentation. So this was, it seemed to be very, very good and exciting, I thought. But then, following this paper, I was shocked by the next pages, which says, any version of the Chicago Plan will be fought to the death by the banking system. It says that if you do study Chicago Plan, you will be killed in a sense. That's a very strong, threatening statement to me because it threatens both its power base and its business model, even after the excesses triggering the 2007-2008 collapse or in the middle of the Great Depression on the 1930s. The banking lobby manages to deflect the implementation of any significant changes. Recall that in 2010, for every elected official in Washington, there were 3 high-level lobbyists working full-time for the banking system. So I was so shocked to see that there are 3 high-level lobbyists only working for full-time to watch the financial activities in Washington, D.C. So this is what happened then after my congressional briefing. Then, a couple months later, I was fired from Dosha University. So this happened to me. So this is historical fact. No personal views. This historical fact what happened. So I was forced out of the academic works, and I was so shocked because now I have no opportunity to spread my ideas, and also I was forced to live in poverty. So to avoid the losses of my academic research, I wanted to publish the book based on my recent research, and that book is based on Keynes general theory and Irving Fisher's 100%. So I focused on the publication of book. That's the only way I can survive because I have no longer the academic positions to supervise PhD student about the monetary reform. So then 2013, 2 years later, I was able to publish a book. And a Japanese businessman business executive helped me to publish this book, and he happened to know Hillary Clinton's. She was supposed to be the next president, first woman president in the United States. So he suggested that I should bring this book work to her. So he took me all the way to the United States to meet Hillary Clinton's to promote my book. So that's what happened. Then also he helped me to publish a book now in Japanese under the title Public Money. So Public Money was published for the first time in Japanese that 10 years ago. So I thought this is what happened after the dismiss academic loss of my position. And I thought my academic life is now done. So that means I don't care about what happened to my life after that. So this is the first story, how public money got the as the activities of my first part of the research. All right. So this is the end of part one. So then I don't know what to do because now I have no student, no academic, and no research fund. So almost I was in a sense I was lost in my life. So then something unexpected happened to my life. That's the paradigm shift in economics as a science part two. So I was invited by the macroeconomic workshop by the Turkish universities and the Turkish Central Bank two times in 2015 and 2017. So after those two workshops, also I was offered a teaching job at the Turkish universities. So that's a totally unexpected invitation to me because I have touched the monetary system and that the totally taboo behavior to touch the monetary reform. But Turkish universities invited me to teach monetary theories. So he was the president of the new Social Science University of Ankara. This university used to be the Turkish government offices. Turkish government moved to new office. Now they try to utilize this old office as a new universities of social sciences, best social sciences to promote the social science research in Turkey. So I was given the chance to teach the graduate course about my monetary theories. That's a totally unexpected but very lucky moment for me, for my life. Then I started using my book and in my graduate courses. And so then I came up with a totally new idea about the fourth theory of current mainstream macroeconomics. So that is the story of this second part. So I started using my books and did a lot of simulations in my graduate school. So I found interesting result. First of all, we have to classify whenever we talk monetary theory, we have to start with the classification of money. That means we have to define monies. So this is the extremely useful classification table of money. I really like it to, whenever you start with any talks, you can always come back to this classification table so that your talk could be precisely classified according to this table. So usually we classify money in terms of legal tender or fiat status, whether money is legal tender or money is created as credit. In my book, I call it functional money instead of credit. So this is the definition of money. So legal tender, that is the money which we cannot reject to receive. Legal tender is also sometimes called base money, which consists of the banknote Bank of Japan note and reserves. And out of this base money M0, banks can create deposit as a functional money. So that means now this is the money we can use for daily transactions. So that means base money is now changed into cash part of base money and deposit. So cash and deposit now constitute the M1. M1 is the most basic money we can use for our daily transactions. Then the unnecessary amount of money is put into time deposit. So M2 or M3 are total amount of money which consists of M1 and time deposit. M1 consists of the base money and the remaining amount of deposit. So this is how we are told to classify the money. But we've totally forgot the most important part. That means who issues the money. So according to the issuance, we can define money into different categories. That means public money and debt money. Of course, our current money is almost debt, as we can prove later. But it's necessary at this level of classification to classify public money from debt money, because public money consists of only small amount. In Japan, only 0.7%, but it still exists. And the oldest example of public money is electrum, alloy of gold and silver, used under the Lydian country. Lydia is close to Greece. It's now currently the Turkish part. So they use this public money. So in Japan, the oldest Japanese money is public money, coined around 7 or 8 AD. So in this way, public money, even though the amount is very small, still exists. So that means we have to use this classification, public money and debt money, as a very important classification. But most textbooks just neglect this public money part, and they only mention about debt money. So that is why then we have to focus on the importance of public money. So as an example, public money, so this is a well-known the US $5 note issued by the Treasury. So it is a public money. It says United States, but it is the same money issued by the Federal Reserve. So it was issued at the interest rate. Even though we use the same designs, the issuance just make a distinction between interest-free and interest. So that's a big difference between public and debt money. The other example is digital money. So we are proposing to use electronic public money, EPM, so instead of coins. So in this way, we can use EPM as a public money. In the USA also, coins can be put into the public money. But compared with this public money, now central bank or Federal Reserve try to publish digital money called CBDC under the debt money. So that's a very important difference between public money and debt money, even though it looks similar. So why then public money is so important? And this is a surprising finding we obtained. So we carefully examine the Japanese monetary data. So Japanese money M3, total money M3, now turned out to be consisting of the time deposit and money stock M1. So money stock is equal to time deposit and M1. This is the same as classification. Money stock, total money stock is equal to M1 and time deposit. All right. And to my surprise, at the same time, we just try to analyze the total debt. Total debt is the money, total the debt which housing and corporations borrow and government. So that means total debt consists of private debt. private debt and government debt. Government debt means government issues bond. So total debt now consists of the private debt and government debt. And our first surprising finding is that total money available in the economy now is almost equal to total debt, except this period in Japanese case. So that's a surprising result. That means we used to say money as debt, but we have shown with data that money is indeed debt. So that's the first amazing finding. The second result is that out of this debt, the private debt end up with the time deposit. Private debt end up with time deposit. So according to traditional Keynesian theory, deposits are used to make loan, but we found that public debt comes first. Then corporation borrow money, then it end up with time deposit. So that's the second surprising finding. The third one is whenever government borrow money, it turned to be the M1. M1. Okay. And those now we did some econometric research, and we found that this money as debt have almost coefficient of determination of close to 1, and private debt is equal to time deposit is also R square is 0.9, and government debt is money stock is also close to 1. So that means now our monetary data shows that money is total debt. That is why this classification of money as debt is so essential to understand the nature of money. And the other finding is that this is Japanese lost 30 years. So our bubble burst around 1990s, and Japanese economy stopped growing for the next 30 years. So this is called Japan's lost 30 years. During that period, Japanese government tried to borrow money, stimulate the economy according to the Keynesian fiscal policies. So M1 and government debt continued to increase, but Japanese economy GDP didn't grow. So what happened is private debt drops, government corporations stopped borrowing money. So as a result, time deposit also continued to drop. So those decrease in private debt can explain why Japanese economy are trapped under the so-called lost 30 years. All right. So this is another interesting finding. So this tells us the essence of the money. So we did the same analysis for the United States. United States, we don't have time to go in detail. You can read our book. But so idea is very similar. United States, the money 20 trillion consists of M1 6.8 trillion and time deposit 13 trillions. And this money is almost equal to the total debt of producer, household, and government of the American economy. So 99.8%. That means public money is almost 0.2%, but still it exists. So we did this research. So that means in the United States, money is the same as total debt. So money comes out of someone's debt. So that means this is no longer the taboos. It's real fact that money is created out of debt. So this is the proof by using the monetary data. So also we found that in the United States we can show the same relation between private debt of the American economy, which seems to be equal to time deposit, and government bond debt turns into the monetary money M1 for daily transaction. So these are two major economies in the world. So Japanese and American macroeconomies show the same feature of the monetary behavior. Okay. So this is the first findings during my teaching in Turkey. So based upon this idea of the new classification of money, we started to classify the monetary theories. So it turned out there are only four monetary theories. So this is a very, very powerful classification of very complicated monetary theories. There are only four monetary theories according to our research. So four monetary theories are just public money theories. Neoclassical monetary theory. Neoclassical monetary theory is based on a general equilibrium framework. So that means under the general equilibrium framework, the equilibrium price is always attained by the so-called numerical goods. So that means all equilibrium is expressed in terms of numerical product. A numerical product could be the gold and silver. So that is why moneyless price and commodity money price are put under the same category of neoclassical monetary theory. The third theory was Keynesian exogenous money theories. That means money is created by central banks and put into circulation by central bank, and commercial banks only use that money as intermediaries to make loans. So that the commercial banks are not creating money out of nothing. So that's the mainstream of monetary theory. The first theory is money is created out of nothing as a credit. So in this way, now we can classify four different monetary theories. And first we show that there is no corresponding realities of neoclassical monetary theory. That means neoclassical monetary theories are total fictions. The very close convincing idea was gold standard, but gold standard was abandoned in 1971 by Nixon shock. That means after that, gold standard or commodity money can never play as a role as a money. So we have to reject this neoclassical monetary theory as a fiction. So now we are going to show the mainstream Keynesian monetary theory is also false. That's a very, very strong research finding we did recently. And the reason is that if we follow this Keynesian exogenous money theories, we cannot explain Great Depression and Japan's lost 30 years. That means Keynesian monetary theory is a total failure because it cannot explain the two important macroeconomic phenomena of Great Depression and Japanese lost 30 years. Why do we have to still continue to use this Keynesian monetary theories, which cannot explain Great Depression and Japan's lost 30 years? That's the basic question. So from here, a little bit technical thing. So I may probably avoid this technical part, but idea is that it's very essential. Okay. So I'm going to show why Keynesian monetary theory cannot explain the Great Depression. So the if you study economics at the universities, you can use Mankew's macroeconomics or any other textbook. All textbooks explain how GDP are determined by the intersection of IS curve and LM curve. If you're not familiar with it, you can probably study later how then the macroeconomics textbook explain IS curve. IS curve is the curve which explains the equilibrium in a commodity market. And LM curve is the equilibrium condition of the monetary supply and demand. So in the macroeconomics, the GDP is determined at the intersection point of IS curve, LM curve. And recessions, according to the Keynesian theory, recession took place because of the consumption failure and investment failure. So that means the consumer spend less and corporations spend less. As a result, then we are driven to this recession. So this is how the Keynesian theory explains the Great Depression. On the other hand, monetary theory show that Great Depression was caused by the contraction of the money supply. As a result, then it ended up with this one. But both spending hypothesis and money hypothesis, which are explained by the current macroeconomic textbooks, cannot explain the phenomena of Great Depression. Great Depression is around this point. So mainly the Mankiw and other leading macroeconomic monetary theory says spending hypothesis is the reason why we had the Great Depression. But this spending hypothesis stay on this LM curve. That means money supply stay the same, spending hypothesis. But during the Great Depression, money supply drops. So this spending hypothesis cannot explain the Great Depression well. Meanwhile, money hypothesis assumes that the Great Depression caused by the contraction of money. So in this way, the contraction of money can be explained, but the interest rate goes up from this point. So interest rate goes up, but during the Great Depression, interest rate drops. So that means both spending hypothesis and money hypothesis cannot explain the Great Depression. So in this sense, we show that their theory is a failure. So to show this one, according to traditional ISLM analysis, then we have to first reduce the money supply from this point to this one, then reduce the spending of consumption and investment to attain this one. So that means to attain this one, both IS and LM curve have to be jointly moved. So that was the missing point of macroeconomics. So, and our model can successfully show this point by running simulation. All right, so that's the result. Then even so, then still the Japanese point is different from Great Depression. In Japan, the GDP is lost for the 30 years, but at the same time, interest rate is close to zero. So this is called point J in the book. But point J cannot be also produced by the traditional Indonesian money. So we create a new model which shows this point, this one. So in this way now we show that mainstream Keynesian macroeconomic theory, which we are using almost everywhere in the world, a totally false theory. That means teachers are telling a false story to students. That was a very strong finding. So we maybe probably have a very serious discussion from now on. And now you can see all Nobel Prize economists flocks around neoclassical monetary theory and Keynesian false exogenous money theory. Almost all Nobel laureate economists flocks around two monetary theories. And now you see why then they have to stay on this false Keynesian exogenous debt money theories. So now let's call the Bernard Dieter again. So in the report, we have already discussed about the Club Rome's fight against the fiscal plan. But Dieter also made a speech in 2009 as follows. So Rita told the audience the following startling anecdote, quote, Paul Krugman told me, means Rita, personally that I was totally crazy to talk about money issue. He said, have you not? We were both from MIT too, okay? We got the same professor, right? And what he told me was, didn't they tell you, never touch the money system, never touch the money system. You can touch everything else. Never touch the money system. The reason is here. And Rita pointing to one of the participants who had correctly pointed to the political nature of the Nobel Prize in economics. You will not be invited to write places and you can kiss goodbye, or the Nobel on anything else that is worthwhile getting. You are killing yourself academically if you touch the money system. So I quoted this little part in my book. So this totally, for me, Rita warned me about touching money. So Rita seemed to have warned Professor Kaoru Yamaguchi of his touching the money system and academic killing of 2013, 4 years in advance. So Rita seemed to have advised that don't touch monetary theories if you want to survive in academic world. Okay. But then this nature of don't touch money is pointed out by Zarlenga in his book of Lost Science. I have quoted from his book. Zarlenga has already reminded us many years ago that Nobel Prize in Economics is not part of Alfred Nobel's legacy, but is awarded by the Swedish Riksbank and demonstrates the propagandistic and deceptive practice of the economic establishment. Nobel's heirs have been trying to force the Riksbank to stop pretending it gives a Nobel Prize in economics. The economics prize runs counter to the idealism in Alfred's declaration that the prizes should be awarded each year to those who have conferred the greatest benefit on mankind. The vast majority of economics prizes have gone to people who reflect the dominating Western view of the world. It's doubtful whether this really is of benefit to all mankind, says Peter Nobel. So, dominant Western view. This is dominant Western view. That is why all Nobel Prize goes to the people who have never touched this part. So this is a reality. So we should know in economics there is no scientific analysis approach in economics. It's already distorted, and my book shows this proof. For the first time, economics is totally biased. Then to show, we produce another paper, head and tail of the creation. So, and we examined this Keynesian part of exogenous debt money theories and monetary reform, money creation, endogenous money part. So we call it flow approach and we call it stock approach. And we did the simulation model to show how those two different approaches to create monetary amount at the end of the monetary creation processes. So we ran the simulations. And it turned out to be the same head and tail. So this is, I'm going to show a little bit more technically. So here is a traditional view of the banking. So here is a balance sheet of commercial banks. Banks receive deposit and make a portion of the deposit with central bank as a reserve. And the remaining amount we made loans. So this is how banks receive as intermediaries and make loans. So money under the banking balance sheet circulate in this way. Bank receive deposit and a reserve with central bank and make loans. So this is a flow approach. Meanwhile, stock approach is different. Bank receive money first of all, then put all money with the reserve. Then they can calculate how much money under the fractional reserve banking system can be made as a loans. So in this case, bank can make loans without money. Money is already reserved. Banks can make loans without any backing amount. So this is a stock approach. So in this way, we use totally two different approaches to explain how money is created. then this is a astonishing result. This is how money stock is created under gold standard. Gold standard with a gold as a seed money, then the banking system can create money stock. This time, 200 money of gold will create 4 times as much as money stock under the fractional reserve system. So this is full approach, stock approach. So whichever approach we use, we still use the same result. So that's a very, very important simulation result. So in this way, the central bank can make base money by making loans to commercial banks, and commercial banks makes loans to government by by purchasing bond, and central bank can create money by purchasing government bond. So in this, there are several ways to increase base money. So I examined all 4 different types of how base money can be increased. Based upon this base money, then the multiplier amount of money will be increased as the total money supply. So this is a flow approach, this is a stock approach. So whichever approach we use, we end up with the same amount of money stock. So this is a total, very precise simulation result. So no one can deny this simulation result. So what does this mean? So this means that even though mainstream Keynesian monetary intermediary theory try to hide away the creation process money, it's the same as endogenous money of money creation. So we show that Keynesian monetary intermediary theory is totally false. It turned out to be the head and tail of the same debt money. So now, in this way, we have only 2 monetary theories: public money or the debt money. Neoclassical money is fictitious, it's no more supported by the realities. And mainstream Keynesian monetary theory is shown to be false. It's the same as tabooed money creation theory. So that means that we have the same one debt money theory. So in this way, now 4 monetary theories are now newly classified into 2 monetary theories: public money or debt money. So that have to be the new issues we have to now raise from now on. So no longer we need not talk about neoclassical and monetary false and fictitious theories anymore, because our book proved they are wrong. So the question is public money or debt money. Then my latest simulation tried to answer this public money and debt money. So this is a kind of more complicated macro model, but I can only show the results. Our latest book model, macroeconomic model, first of all, can successfully reproduce the monetary behavior. So if you remember the Japan and USA, total money is the same as total debt, and time deposit is the same as private debt, and government debt is the same as monetary stock. So this is how we obtained from the Japanese economy and American economy. And our monetary simulation model showed the exact same result. Money supply is definition equal to debt, and this time deposit is equal to this time deposit equal to private debt, and government debt is equal to M1. Okay. So that shows for the first time our macroeconomic model can show the monetary decomposition. That means we can say if anyone's macro model cannot show this monetary decomposition, their model is not correct, not acceptable. So this is the first time to show the monetary decomposition model precisely, which may explain the real monetary decomposition in Japanese and American economies. Okay. So by using this one, the simulation target is say this is the kind of Japan number one growth point, and the target is we can whether we can attain this GDP level, this GDP level by issuing public money or the borrowing more money. This is the MMT debt money solution. So my simulation model shows that GDP can be attained by either public money and debt money, like borrowing more money, like MMT's policies. So in terms of the GDP can be attained both public and debt money. So in this way, this is the public money solution, green, and dotted pink line is the MMT solution. We attain the same GDP result. But to attain the same GDPs, the model shows a total different behavior of other economic factors. So most people only focus on the GDP. So it doesn't matter whether then we keep borrowing money because we attain this GDPs. But behind this MMT solutions, the price continue to grow, hyperinflation. Meanwhile, public money stabilize. And money stock continue to grow. MMT says monetary increase is not a problem because the government cannot go bankrupt. But it turned out to be wrong. See, instead of the MMT, public money is stabilized, and government debt continue to grow, and public money debt money cannot increase at all. So that means even though we attain the same result under the public and debt money, the other economic behavior totally different. This is totally unsustainable. So this is how we show that MMT is no longer a good solution. Okay, this is so in this way, now we come to the conclusion that whether we should follow the public money or debt money. Obviously, my choice is public money. So that means now under the classification of money, we are running public money and debt money. But under the public money, this debt money have to be totally converted into the public money. All money have to be issued by public at interest free. This is the first solution. Second one, we no longer create credit or functional money. That means all money have to be legal tender. So this is the target of our public money reform. So that means so far then the most economists never talk about public money. They only talk about the debt money system. So under debt money systems, economists are classified into the liberal left and Keynesian or the right part. But those different groups are just fighting each other under the same debt money systems. But if we change the monetary system into the public money system, they no longer have good reason to fight each other because most of the struggle are just artificially created by divide and conquer, divide and rule principle by the globalism. That means once we have transferred from debt money to public money, there's no good reason to fight under this different opposition control framework. So, but public money is not enough to attain the ideal system. That means so we have to still attain the free employment, self-managed business. That means self-managed business corporation have to be essential to avoid the income inequalities. So in this way, the public money and self-managed business are the key factors to attain the new monetary system. And the new monetary system is called in the book Muratopia Economy. I don't have time to explain this one. You may probably read the final chapter, this one. Okay. So my final conclusion. If we go back to our civilization, it started with 15,000 BCs all the way to the recent present day. And Western civilization took place around 4500 BC, around this period. And Eastern civilization started with 3000 BC around this time. So Eastern and Western civilization have to be fighting each other. In terms of the money, money only appeared around 600 BC as a public money. Then public money continued for the last couple of thousand, couple of hundred. Then it was replaced with debt money. Debt money is 200 years ago, 250 or 300 years ago. Now we are at this point. Now we have to change the economy to the public money system. So without the changing the civilizational framework, then we cannot stop our fighting. So this is the long-run solutions on public money system. Okay. So finally, public market economics is completed. The same book was published 10 years ago in Japanese, and finally this year we are able to produce English public book. So, and to my surprise, I have received the Fried Prize 2025 from the German Fried Fund Foundation for Sustainable Economics. That's a total surprise offer recently happened to me. So to my surprise, it says our public money system for the first time was more neutrality explained as the main reason of this award. So for sustainable economics, public money system have to be essential. So this shows that now we are changing into the total new different period of the years. So that means now public money have to be more the issues of the monetary reform. And in Japan, to promote public money, we created a public money organization, which has been active since 2018. And my final proposal is, if you agree with our approach of public money, why not establish the same public money forum under the same name in USA, Germany, or whatever? Then finally, we could find the world organization called World Public Money Forums. We call making all nations great again. Make all nations great again. Manga is just Japanese cartoon. But anyhow, so this is my proposal at this seminar. Thank you very much for your attention. It took more than one hour. Okay.
Thank you very much, Kaoru. That was some effort and very well done. And I understood everything. And people will have access to the recordings. When you go through so much data, it'd be nice to recommend the book. And it would be very to be patient and to go through it, and you learn to be a part of the graphs, and you learn to feel them, and you feel good about it, and it takes time, but good, and it's good work to be done. And it gets into the future. And this, I just want to bring this up too. This was Kaoru's book in Turkey, with the gentleman who you saw, or one of the gentlemen you saw in the picture, and it's Money Matters, and it's some puzzles, anomalies, and crises in the standard macroeconomic model. It's another example of Kaoru's hard work that he continues doing, and not giving up. And it took a long time, but you're being acknowledged, and I'm just glad you lived long enough to do this because it's hard. And so we got two gentlemen ready to ask a question. Nevis, go ahead.
Thank you, Steve. Am I audible? I just wanted to do
Yes,
audio.
you are audible.
Oh, perfect. First of all, thank you, Professor Kero, for this amazing presentation. This completely.
Can I see can I see the face of the speaker?
Oh, yes, yes. I have to just. I'm connected on AR glasses. Let me remove laptop. One sec.
Nevis is I know Nevis. He's a young gentleman from
Okay.
India, now going to school in the United States on the East Coast. Hi, Nevis. And Nevis is very much interested in international money too.
Thank you for the kind words, sir. Yeah, my question is basically around. I acknowledge that we are in a flawed system. It's just that when I look back at history, uh, like you are proposing a move from private money to public money, which makes sense. But isn't that also a form of centralization? How would issuance of money in public money system work? Like, I'll take example of, let's say, a place like my country, my home country, like India or something. There are interested politicians with affiliates towards certain communities. What I'm coming to is, in this new model that we are speaking about, will there be bias of who gets access to more newly created money? Because this is also a form of centralization, right? That is my core of the question.
Okay, let me ask your question again, because it's nice for anybody, but for Kaoru or I to have it said twice, and I'm going to say it again in my words a little bit,
Sure.
and I'm going to be quick a little bit. Kaoru, you've had some conversation why you don't want to go towards CBDC. Joseph Huber suggests that maybe from an accounting standpoint, it depends how it gets defined, but it may give the central bank a little bit more money and the commercial banks less money. Maybe CBDC is a halfway step, but a public money system, you had the idea of regional monies. And why do you call it an electronic public money system? And can it be taken over by the central authorities, either, and it doesn't matter if they're left or right, and they're not, and since they are already in power, if you give them an idea, they'll grab your idea and make it their idea and make it theirs. So how can we stop the present powers from just taking control of your ideas and make electric public money their money?
Well, that's a very important political question and for the transitions. But as I disclosed in every U.S. representative is surrounded by three full-time lobbyists. So that means whatever actions American politicians take towards the public money, they react to stop. So politically, it's almost impossible. That's many people say it's possible. So why then the so the priority is first of all we have to change this viewpoint from the macroeconomics textbooks or university academic areas. Otherwise, then without the supporting of majorities, it's impossible to change politically. So that is why I just focus on the failure of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics textbooks, which has been used by most students in the world, are using the wrong concept of money. So if then they study some wrong feature of the macroeconomics textbook, then they will rethink what will be the alternative theories. So that may take another 10 years. For instance, Keynes' general theory took 10 years to be dominant theories. Keynes said in the beginning, there is no one who understands my theory. It was so difficult to understand. In 1936, then he said it takes 10 years. So the younger generations try to understand Keynes' general theory, and and spread the Keynes ideas. So in the same way, my approach of macroeconomics may take some time for the younger researchers. Then if they start spreading, then it may affect the world. So idea is in the book I showed what will be the new economic viewpoint when we have public money systems. So it's better to have a kind of uh, is ideal economic viewpoint under the public money system. Then we know what the goal is. Then we try to find out the way. So each country has different political situation, different power struggles, and that is why it's better to form a different public money forum in different countries, and we exchange ideas. And politically, so political struggle is not our imminent movement because first of all we have to understand what's wrong with mainstream monetary theories. Why so many Nobel economists never touch monetary theories, and why the private bank of Sweden are trying to pretend that their award is a Nobel Prize in economics. Those are for the first time put into my book. I was a little bit afraid of disclosing those facts, but it's already done by other people. So I just put all those writings together in my book. So in this way now, we also disclose the so-called economic establishment. People who took PhD in economics at MIT is a part of economic establishment, and they intendedly hide away the monetary theory, especially the debt creation monetary theories, intentionally. And that started from Paul Samuelson. Paul Samuelson was the influential economist at MIT. And after that, MIT has traditions to establish the economic establishment groups. Out of those groups, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, chairman of the ECB, chairman of the central banks, or chairman of the BIS, all those chairmen just picked up from MIT group of economics. That explains why. And Peter now shows that never touch money issue. That's the tradition of MIT PhD economics. So if
Well,
they don't touch the money, they can pick up as a chairman of the central banks or the Fed or the other important positions. So that's the reality.
um, I want Nevis's question is real important, and I want to ask it in one or two new ways. Kaoru, you had the idea, I remember some years ago, of, say, in Japan, having 3 regional public monies, EPMs, I believe. I thought I saw a paper once. And is there a way for the public in an area of Japan, for example, they would create their public money and they could understand it as their public money system, and then maybe another area would have their public money system? Or is EPM going to be a national system, say in Japan in the future? And I know Japan is just one country, but it's your country, and maybe you have some ideas for Japan in the future.
Well, first of all, as you may know, MMT was introduced to Japan around 2015, or MMT was become so dominant. And many Keynesian economists who picked up MMT says now we should borrow more money and stimulate the economy. So MMT has been the dominant trend in Japan. Then I published a book, Public Money, and criticized MMT. It's false. So what happened is that after the publication of my book, many the popular influencers of YouTube or any influencers who support MMT suddenly stop talking about MMT because they are afraid of being attacked by my criticism. So that is what happens. That means MMT is no longer dominant theories. several years ago, everything was only the alternative to the current existing theory. So that is what I expect. So after the publication of public money in this year, and it may probably trigger some criticism or discussions among economists. First, post-Keynesian economists or neo-Keynesian economists and neoclassical economists. Then gradually it is becoming influential. So that is the process. So you will see for the next 5 years.
Mhm. Okay. And another, I want to take Nevis's question and turn another corner with it. And that is your idea of Muratopia, or the last chapter of your
Yeah.
book. And right now we have capitalism versus socialism, and we fight about it in this country all the time. We don't worry about MMT. We fight capitalism. Oh, you're socialist. You're awful capitalist. And where are you
Yeah.
going, and how
That's
do
a
you
very
understand?
that's a very important point. Whenever the left and right fight each other, and they never mention about debt money systems. So that means they are put into the position, control positions. So in Japan, there are now emerging group of the anti-global, but they never mention about the debt money. So that means if they do not mention public money as a solution, they are put into the opposing position by the globalists. So that is why the very important uh, point. So to ask them whether they support debt money or public money, because there are only two theories now.
Sir, why
If they
can't there
support
be?
debt,
I am sorry to interrupt. Why can't there be a third system? That why are we narrowing it down to as only public or private money? And why can't there be newer systems with the advent of technology? I'm not going to bring in those ideas here, but since you proposed public money, my only fear was who
but
issues the public money and who decides. Let's say there are 100 people in a village. How many people will get money, how many people will not get money, how is the distribution going to be decided fairly? Isn't that centralized at the political power, even if it's public money? That is my fear that I come with.
yeah, first of all, distribution issue is different from monetary system. So under the public money system, still we have the problem of distributions. So distribution cannot be solved by the public money system. But we can solve distribution between bankers, financiers, and non-bankers, ordinary people. So we can solve that distribution issues. But we
What
cannot solve the
What if it
distribution
creates a new
between.
problem? What if it creates a new problem in down 50 years later in this new system? Let's say in Japan, we have instead of corrupt bankers, we have corrupt politicians who then we will go through the same problem from a different angle again after 50 years. And that is my concern. That's all. Yeah.
Nevis, that's okay. We're going from a money systems thinking and looking at the political nature behind it. And you're right, there can always be political corruption. And we're going to have a speaker, Leah Downing, who's a young woman who's going to speak from politics. And what do we have to do as a young person, as our creating a new society? And she's going to talk about how we're really going to have to learn to build consensus, really work together so that we can oversee our legislators, our politicians, that is. The politicians belong to the people. So the people have to take responsibility to put guardrails on the politicians. And the politicians have to keep reviewing how money creation takes place. In this case, she says we always got to keep reviewing the Federal Reserve, or decide we're going to have a new organization, maybe like in the Need Act. But we have to keep them to the fire, and we have to make democracy work, or we're going to fail ourselves. So, but
Stephen,
I
there are
know
other
that John,
questions.
I see that, Lucille. I'm going to go to some other questions. You're
Yeah.
going to
Thank you.
bring
Thank
up
you
the
so much.
spiritual end. I can feel it coming. Okay, and I could bring up something, and Koro, I think, is bringing up something in his book around Marutanga, or Marutopia, rather, I think. But anyhow, Danish, let's have your question, please.
There's also one in the chat for
Uh,
you, Stephen.
Okay, I'll ask you, Lucille, next time.
Okay.
Chat.
Hello, everyone. My name is Danish Hassan. I am a PhD candidate in ecological economics at the University of Vermont. Some of you might be aware of that field. And thank you, Mr. Yamaguchi, for your presentation. It's a lot of overlapping ideas with my research. It felt like I was talking to my advisor when you were presenting this research. I actually have three questions from you, and you can choose how to answer them or what to answer, what not to answer. The first one is that what is your opinion on complementary currencies, like having more than one currency? Bernard Lietaer was a huge proponent of this system, and he vehemently said that, that complementary currencies are a solution to avoid the boom and bust, the financial crisis that commercial banks might plunge us into. And second question is like, uh, do you think that money ultimately is a claim on our natural resources? Like when we issue money, the money is used for the exchange of goods and services. So keeping in mind the sustainability angle, do you think this is also part of my dissertation, like how um, if money should take into account the sustainability and ecology of our planet. Like till 1972, we had a gold standard that was used to issue money. How about instead of the gold standard, we have something like an asset like a carbon stock or natural assets that can limit the issuance of money? Thank you.
Okay.
That's two questions, Danish. I got two out of that. Complementary currency and
I wrote the
sustainability.
third one. I wrote the third one in the chat. Like
Oh,
it was
okay.
about.
Lucille will give it to us then.
Okay.
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 You're back in competition with that question, just so you know.
Oh,
Then we'll try to get it next. Koro,
Um,
did you understand the question?
yes, that's a
Okay.
very interesting question. First of all, if you remember my talk about money and sustainability, a report by Club Long, and the author is Bernard Lietaer, I repeatedly mentioned. I had a chance to talk with him in person in 2017. We were invited to the digital currency conference in Vienna. So I spent 2 hours to talk with him in person. And finally, he accepted that current debt money system is fundamentally wrong. So, as as a system, debt money system doesn't work. Then, but he said, but complementary system, complementary money, that is why we need complementary money to support this failure of debt money. So the complementary money is really comes from Rita's suggestions or Club of Rome suggestion. See, if current system doesn't work, we bring complementary monies. So then it sounds to be very good idea alternative, right? That is why then some people are so much affected by this new idea. But my solution is that once we have a public money system which is fair to all, and we don't need complementary money. First of all, that's the answer. Why do we need complementary money? Because monetary system, public money system is working better than debt money system with complementary
yeah.
theory. And why we need complementary money? So that is we have to ask to them. So that's one answer. The second one is related with more fundamental idea of the money. What is money? Whether it is intrinsic, it has an intrinsic value. Like Adam Smith said, gold and silver has an intrinsic value. Gold is variable. That is why it becomes money. So in the same way, say our country itself has value, or the very stable or safe ecology have a value, or forest has a value. So why
Yeah.
then the intrinsic value has not to be confined to commodity values? So that means nation itself, the is backed by the public money. So that intrinsic value is a kind of a tricky created by Adam Smith. So any public money which is no longer backed by gold, silver, but it's public, it's backed by nation itself. As long as we hold our nations, then that nation guarantees the exchange of the money. So that is enough. That was the
Small, can I, sorry to interrupt. Can I say a small thing? Like, you say money is backed by uh, the nation. Nation, is that what you are saying?
yeah.
Yeah, some
Yeah, I
people are
mean,
calling that a social equity type money too.
okay. Okay, because, but how about if I ask about the money and sustainability, money and ecology, the link between that? Because if you are issuing money, it does have an impact on our natural resources, especially the current monetary system that you are critiquing right now. Then, is it the same what you are saying, the nation, or is it something different?
First of all, the why and the money and sustainability are just put together. That's a political intention by Club Long. Club Long tried to show in 1970 the limit to growth. As our economy cannot grow forever. So we have to, in a sense, put some regulations. That is regulation in favor of the banking system. So that's why money and sustainability are already put together. But why do we need those things put together? Because once we have a public monies and the economic system works better than the profit-oriented behavior. So the alternative, the sustainability can be better followed under the development systems. And this kind of more abstract way, but the question is money and sustainability are already put together. So why we need it put together? Because it's a totally different behaviors.
Okay. I think other people should also, but I think they need to be discussed together because there is a
Yes,
link.
yeah,
But
yeah.
we can talk about it sometime later, maybe. Thank you.
Lucille, did you want to bring the question up from the chat?
Yeah, it was the earlier one, but it was by Luis Durango. How will this, he says, public finance system, I think what you talked about, you might mean a public money system, impact the operations done into the private corporate finance of companies? How will what you talked about, Cairo, the public money system, impact the operations done into the private corporate finance of companies?
We could generalize maybe is how does a public money system affect and work with corporations?
Sounds good.
Well, once the government can issue money free of charge, then it's government policy to which industry, which corporation they should support or subsidize. So it's now determined by the political processes. So so that is better than the current system. In the current system, government subsidy can be put into some corporations which we don't know. So it's used under totally in a private way, but under public money, if then the government need more monies and they discuss which industries or corporations or policies that money should be used. So we have a kind of democratic discussions then to determine. So that means public money itself cannot be politicized by subgroups. It have to be neutral, and the use of public money have to be put under the democratic decision-making process.
So that democratic conversation is still very important, and that we have to give guidance to
Yes,
corporations and to society how we want to move forward in a healthy way And we as the people, the voting citizens, we have to take responsibility to keep them honest.
The other one more important thing is that under debt money system, the financial sector's transaction is zero-sum game. Zero-sum game. That means some group gains, some group loses. So in total, in the financial sector, there is no one who can benefit as a net value. But under the public money system, money is only put into the economic activities that always bring a positive sum result. So that means the public money cannot be can never be put into financial transactions because they know that financial transactions are zero-sum game. So that's a big difference.
Right, right. And that those investing in secondary, what Sully Omarova, a lawyer economist in this country, she would say those secondary markets are not good for the public. And it's just investing against each other. And it's the financiers playing a casino game, a gambling game with themselves, basically.
Okay, and that's a good point. And the other thing which I didn't discuss today, the most important system is uniform tax. Idea uniform tax. So that's very important tax system. That means this is the idea. Whenever money moves, the goods and service moves. That means money movement implies economic activities. So whenever money moves, we pay a portion of that transaction to the government as a tax. So that means we assume that digital money or the Bitcoin type of digital money, or so that means whenever we make transactions, a portion of money goes to government directly, and people can easily understand how much tax they collect under the uniform tax rate. So in this way, gamblers or tax evasions, or there are no way to evade. Even though rich people transfer the money, they have to pay tax, uniform tax. So in this way, the tax system becomes totally fair to everybody. So that's another important thing which we didn't touch. But I explained uniform tax rate is the most essential tax reform under under the public money system. It's better than Trump's dodgy solutions.
Thank you, Kaoru. Let's go to the next. Jamal, please give us your question.
Unmute, yeah.
Yeah, thank you again for your talk. It was very informative, Doctor. So my question would be, if we were to implement this system, the money in relation to other different debt money would be very valuable, it would seem. You would probably have a very strong currency in relation to other different nations that still rely on debt money. So my concern would be then that you would have a certain type of hoarding that would happen, seeing that this money that would be tied to just the economic activity of the country could be seen as kind of a type of gold where it's more held rather than exchanged. And I know that you talked about just now about the tax system that will be attached to your electronic public money. But would you be in favor of modifying the tax system so that it depreciates the face value of the currency for anybody that holds the currency? So would you be in favor of a demurrage to prevent people from hoarding your money?
Okay, let's take those questions one at a time. Can one nation go alone and just take up your public money system, Kaoru? Could Japan or the United States or Brazil or India or China, could they do it alone? Could they have a public money system and not worry about other countries? Could New Zealand start alone?
Can can you just briefly explain your question?
Yeah,
What's the point of?
well,
Jamal.
say if okay, Jamal, you want to say your first question again of a country doing it alone?
Yes, absolutely. So, if one country did the monetary reform and they had public money, uh, I would assume that the value of this money would be very strong. It would be have a very high exchange value. I could see it as something like some of the oil nations, like Bahrain or Dubai, that have an extremely high, a strong currency. So, uh, if we do have an extremely strong currency, I would assume that some people would also try to hold on to this money as a way of storing value, uh, kind of
Yeah.
like how people store gold. So, could you change your tax system that you attach to your money in order to discourage this hoarding of money by something like Boomerang?
Well, first of all, there are tax systems to meet the demand for the government expenditure. So that's a domestic policy. Meanwhile, if then some countries suffering from the trade deficit, they can devalue their currencies. So there are two different policies, and currently, I see the United States is the dollar is losing its international status because they cannot solve the debt issues. Meanwhile, the BRICS countries are trying to form their own currencies. So that means in the long run, our national economy is moving towards a nation-based monetary systems. So that is a long run trend. That means no one country can dominate anymore. They are based on their own national economic power. But the question is, if then one country go ahead with public money, the other country is suffering from debt money. So what to be the a kind of the adjusting, or that's a question, right? So I haven't done that question between the public money country and debt money country. How do they compete on? But it's still good area to do research.
Yeah, I think Jamal, just to get to that part too, is if you look at China, the People's Bank of China from 1948, basically, even though it's a Politburo, it's a top down, and Nevis here would be very concerned about that, it is nonetheless a public money system. And China has it has grown its economy tremendously recently. And it does bring up your argument. It has value, but they themselves have learned to decrease the value of it by making more of it and manipulating it too. And I have thought about there's a Canadian economist named John Hodson who in 1991 went to New Zealand and told them they could go alone and make a public money system. We have Kaoru, we have a videotape of this too. And I never thought of it. It would work, but I was thinking, well, wait, just to answer your question, yes, the merge would work. That would one way it would work. I would see it working from my bit of experience, and but I didn't see that as being a high quality system. It's high quality to the extent that it can put people to work. That's what's high quality about it. Okay, in my thinking, but we're going to have an open session after the evening at the end, and we might bring up some of these interesting questions again. And maybe we write some questions down and we send them to Professor Yamaguchi too. We'll send them. We can be as good students from far away. Okay. But anyhow, Jamal, did you want to follow? Are you good then?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Very good questions, Jamal, right? Beautiful. I'm going to go to something else. Professor Yamaguchi, what about your last chapter? We don't have a lot of time, but can you give us just a few words about your idea of Marutopia?
Yes. Well, uh, well, first of all, the Mura means village.
Beige.
And recent the historian found that the Japan has oldest village or civilizations 15,000 years ago, and it lasted since then. That's kind of German civilization.
Mm-hmm.
And out of German civilizations, Western and Eastern civilization, they took place. And the main feature which I understood is that in the West, the individualism is more treated more important, essential. Meanwhile, in the Eastern philosophy, more mu or just formless or state is more important. So those are two different civilizations which took place and which have been fighting each other. And so money system are just mixed with is Western and Eastern civilizations. And the in the West, the money has been used to control the people. That means controlling the religions in a sense, religious belief. But in Japan, Jomo, there are no major religions. We are always the part of the nature, and everything is God, and so there's no reason to separate one religion from another. So that's a big difference. So I was wondering whether that kind of new approaches of civilization can play with public money systems. Public money is the money which exists as if it is the air, that no one can control public money. It's we use for daily life to maintain our village life. But so, and the basic idea is that Japanese management in 1980 when I was studying Berkeley, so there was a Japanese the semiconductor industry which is dominating American semiconductor. And at that time, the people discuss about Japanese management style. Japanese management style means once we are employed, we are part of the company as a family members. We never fire, and we got promoted as we become more mature and experienced. So that's kind of Japanese style management have to be practiced in Japan for since the 15,000 years ago as a just village culture. So that is now forced to be changed by American business style to accept work as just part of cost. So, and we believe that German civilization, Japanese village culture based on the traditional respect on our ancestors and ecology have to be more dominant. And under that new civilization's money system can work better. So that is the idea of how to combine monetary theory with spiritual part. And actually, I'm developing one model called the economic model of happiness. So in that sense, the whether we assume that original sin we are taught by the Christian tradition is really original sin. Well, we are born good. We don't need to worry about original sin. So that's a big difference between two. So based upon this one, our behavior or way to organize our society totally different. Now we are convinced that German civilization is oldest civilization. So that means we have to learn. It happened to be the eastern part of the Japanese island. It's not Japan. It's people live in the island and developed German civilization and developed village culture and respect to the nature and support each other and respect our ancestors. Those has been our civilization feature. And I was wondering whether that can be brought again so that in the West you are still fighting among the Christians, the other religions. We need not to worry about that kind of the struggle anymore under new view. That was what I want to develop.
I would think, I hope the Japanese the best of luck using their imaginations and to find the Jomon civilization. The Jomon civilization goes back 13,000 years, and that's the time when rice is domesticated. So it works very conveniently for a growth of a civilization because you need storage and you need a lot of things. And it's like a very early form, not it might be there's urban and villages and urbanization that's strong, and then the growth of civilization too. But not at 13, you wouldn't have a civilization at 13,000 years ago, but the traditions and the patterns that develop there. And it seems like there's a sense of humanity and a sense of caring for your fellow men. And we've lost that in our corporate financial system. And we're going to be learning more about that this weekend. David Dayan is going to talk about monopolized and how corporations are going after. Tomorrow morning, we have Gretchen Morgensen that's going to talk about corporations plundering each other and having buyouts and things like this, and private equity for her in particular, she's going to explain, and how it can be harmful. And it's all to make more money. And we're going to soon hear from David Corton and to hear about maybe something called the money tree or what is, well, we won't go into it. I'm going to let Professor Corton speak for himself, but it's trying to find out where our human spirit is a little bit. And I hope every nation the best of everything to find that. So, and thank you very much. Is there some last words you'd like to say, Professor Yamaguchi?
Thank you for this opportunity again. And I'm going to send you my 50th slide to Steve, and you can probably share the slide. It's free to share and to distribute. So, and so my hope is that you can form a public money forum in USA.
Okay,
Public
well,
money.
that would be very interesting. And we're thinking about how to coalesce and work together, and maybe
Yes.
we can use that in some way to go forward. So we look forward to doing that. And we have to sometimes change our names just to take care of our nonprofit or to be more political or not political. So a new name like that could work, and plus we can learn your ideas with it too.
Thank you. That's a very good move.
Yep. Well, thank you for sharing. It goes both ways. And thank you very much for being with us, Professor
Thank you for your
Yamaguchi.
attention. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and stay to hear David too.
Yeah, if you have time, Professor Corton will be very interesting to hear with his ideas too. And we have to make a big change here in the same way that you need to make a big change in Japan. So he's going to talk. We'll see what he has to say. I'll put it like that. It'll be interesting, though. It's a good night. So thank you again, Professor Yamaguchi.
Thank you.